All right, check this out. Before you do anything, make sure that your tech is working. The microphone was off for the last one that I did, and I thought it was pretty fantastic. Maybe not fantastic enough because I get the opportunity to try again. So here it goes. Hello, my name is Kyle Panter, and I'm 33 years old. For those of you who don't know me, I am a Air Force veteran, in case you couldn't tell. And no, that does not mean I flew a plane, believe it or not. Not everybody in the Air Force flies planes. Can't tell you how many times I've heard that one before. Anyway, I'm here to share my experience on becoming who I really am and what that means. I'll start off by just sharing a little bit about myself. Just in the past couple years, I was in a job that I was not too excited about, although it did help me move on from the previous portion, which we'll get into maybe a little bit later. This job gave me an opportunity to really test myself and my boundaries and explain to myself what I was valuing and what I was not valuing any longer. It got to a point where I started to see all of these things that were not in alignment with the core of who I know I really am. That expanded into, before that came about, I was seeing it and I was trying to do things about it. I just did not feel heard or even seen, and I brought it up a couple times. Little things were changing here and there for the first few months, and then after that, everything kind of just flatlined. That led me into, okay, I'm not feeling seen or heard, so I'm just going to sit back, do my job, and sit in color, essentially. Be like a Marine, if you will. Stick some crayons up your nose, and that's it. Anywho, so for the last year and a half or 2 years now, 2 years ago now, I basically just drank myself away. I drank myself almost to death, pretty much. I was drinking every single night, multiple beers, and it was just not doing anything for me. I do look on the positive side that maybe at some level it kept me alive in some sense. However, looking back, I was like, just no. At the beginning of this year, I knew that something needed to change drastically, or I just straight up wasn't going to make it anymore. And what that looked like for me was being able to get back a little bit more in touch with what the body needed, instead of ruminating about all of these thoughts and feelings and things that I couldn't control. And every day I would beat myself up about, why are these things not changing? How come they can't see this? And the list goes on. Anywho, I made a choice that I needed to do something, and it had to be drastic for me. It was not just going to be this, many people say this baby step action. For me, it's not going to be, it hasn't been that way. Can't say that it's not going to be in the future on some things, but for now, and what started it was it had to be drastic and it had to be fast. So I managed to switch my diet. I got back into exercising, and that looked like just doing yoga and calisthenics from my house. And as the body started to maneuver back into a space of wellness, it allowed more mental clarity to come up. Through that mental clarity, I didn't really have a clear vision of what I wanted to do, which is what I'm thankful for now, of being able to look more clearly into a stable vision rather than just spontaneous action. And although spontaneous action is really great, if there's not, in my experience, if there's not something to look towards, then that spontaneous action can kind of just diminish. Anyway, moving past that, I went on a little adventure of finding myself again, finding what I valued and what I held important to myself, and what that led me to was a greater understanding of how the first, and this has been talked about for who knows how long, that the first kind of pillar, if you will, is the physical. To be grounded in the physical is to be grounded in everything else. And so for me, getting back into movement was my first step into getting back into the body, understanding what the body needed to flourish and progress in a positive, healthy manner. I enrolled back in school, so I'm currently doing school. The semester just ended, and it has been a journey for that as well. So getting back into school as a 30-year-old, there were a lot of things coming up that was like, dude, you're way behind the swing of things, like everybody's going to make fun of you and all this stuff, you know. And that's just, it's simply not true. In fact, the majority of the people that I've ran into have, you know, well, they've either expressed, well, that's freaking awesome, you know, what are you going to do with that? You know, what are you going to do? And, you know, there's been a support expressed in that manner. During spring break, there was a little experimentation period of, and you'll see it plaqued on, if you want to check out the Instagram, you'll see it plaqued there, and I have a little one up on Facebook as well about ruck and talk. And that's kind of it was just an experiment of walking around with initially the intention of understanding this thing that we call fear. Seems like I won't get too far into it, but who knows? I'm just letting it kind of come out as it goes. So I set off on this little journey to understand what fear looked like, what fear sounded like, what fear is, like what is this thing that we call fear? So for about 7 days, I went on this little journey where I grabbed my ruck and I just roamed around the city a little bit, and just kind of going through the thoughts and feelings of what fear is, and then I would just talk about it. There was a lot of great insights that came up. The first one that was expressed is how, so I looked at all of the names that fear has been called over however long. This goes back, I'm sure, as far as we can remember, but you know, from mythological texts, and this name again of fear and what that is. And I won't go into the depths of it just right here, but that's what started it off. And then as that kind of came to a close, I thought that I was done with it. And that's the key there, is I thought that I was done with it. I'm going to change this a little bit here. Maybe. Okay. I thought that I was done with it, and clearly I wasn't, because there's a lot of fear that comes up almost every day. It's just a natural thing. You know, this person looks a certain way, or that person, and it elicits that fear response in the body. And I kind of ignored it because I thought that I was past it. You know, 7 days of obviously digging into it is really enough to master it. Ha! Psych! It's not. And the experiences that I've had up until now have led me to show me that that's totally not the case. Like, it is a daily cycle, and it is understanding that it comes up all the time, and you have to be able to be in a space to look at it and understand it, and just shake it off and say, okay. I did quite the opposite. I allowed that fear, despite thinking that I had it all figured out. There were events that led me to basically just get smacked in the face and back to where I started. And it gradually built up. It wasn't something that like settled in so quickly. The event that, or the situation, elicited a response in the body of shame and guilt. And that led me into kind of flatlining again for a little while. And so you'll see, if you check out the Instagram page, you'll see that for the past, it's been about 2 months or so, where there wasn't any content. And at the top of that, it says, consistently, candidly creating. And the consistency part had really fallen off because of this feeling that came up and didn't allow me to move forward. I didn't allow myself to move forward. And then the fears and the other feelings, shame, guilt, anger, pride started to set in even more, and it just built up this kind of plaque, if you will. I don't know what else to call it, but it built up kind of a plaque within the body. When I'm in those negative feelings of shame and guilt and fear and anger, the body itself feels just so constricted, and I don't feel like I have the power or even the option to express myself. It's just fear, and whatever I see out there is just compounding it, and then all of the rumination and the thoughts and the feelings, it's like I said, it just compounds it, and it makes it so it's like puts myself in this small container. And I didn't know how to move forward with that, and sometimes I still don't. Luckily, some awesome things came up. Someone shared today in our coaching session that it just kind of showed up, that this coaching opportunity just showed up. They don't know how or whatever, and that's kind of something similar. It just like popped up, and I'm like, I know I've followed Aaron for quite some time. I don't know these other two Joes, pardon me, but I'm willing, because I know what I'm at least familiar with what kind of content that Aaron released, and I've seen kind of the journey that he's been on and how he's progressed, and it's been more or less aligned with myself. And so when this popped up, I was like, and then things start coming in to align more closely with that. And then so this is a week now since this Conscious Business Accelerator has started. And through the first week, I was like, okay, like just get in there and do it, The first week we talked about beliefs. And I'm really thankful for the opportunity to go deep within myself and actually identify those beliefs. It's something that I wanted to do for quite some time, and there has been sporadic points of where I have been able to address or look at one particular beliefs. What was different about this one is that it brought up a lot of different beliefs, and not just pick and choose one or twosies and then not have a response for it. This laid out exactly how to identify them and how to change them, I believe we call it a flip, right? And anywho, the opportunity to address those beliefs, really get down deep in there and understand where I'm coming from, has been really fantastic for the first week. And then I got kind of into that same, because those other beliefs were, held for however long, although they weren't as strong as before, they still had some tie, and that prolonged me doing exactly what I wanted to do, which is, I love talking, especially when I'm in a fear state. I love talking. There's just nothing like, that's it. I just love talking. And so what better way to do that than to talk to myself on the camera and hope that somebody, resonates with it. Anywho, moving back, so identifying the beliefs, really getting in there, and also how to change them or look at them differently. Now, I'm definitely someone that comes from I want to get it done right here, right now. There's got to be that instant gratification. And if there's not, then I'm just going to sink back into my little shit field and get filled with all the thoughts and feelings of whatever. And let me just tell you that does not help one single bit. It does not frickin' help. And so I got a little... Okay, it's funny. It's kind of funny how this stuff pans out. As the last one ended, I clicked over to catch the notes a little bit. And just note to myself while I'm doing this too is that whole part up front there was, although I had done a couple videos prior to, all without notes. Bringing in a little bit of notes here just to make sure that I stay on track with myself and kind of the vision. So I don't know if I said at the beginning, but I'm proud to be a diplomatic wayshower. And now that I think about it, I think that I did. I just wanted to reiterate that that what this means is showing people how to go from the war on love, which from my perspective is the war between the heart and the mind, to free the heart and the mind to work in conscious co-creation. It's done through going from overthinking to overcoming the overthinking with the emotion of courage and turning that into opalescent, I want another O word, but I can't find it right now, so opalescent splendor, how about that? Through this process, burning karma by stepping into the Dharma, and up until now I have not given myself permission to fully express, to fully show up, to fully be who I am, despite what might be felt, seen, heard in myself and in the outside world. I believe I was talking about, going into that kind of shit field, if you will, where all the thoughts and feelings just kind of get in everywhere, and it's almost like little slime balls that kind of just come at me and stick gunk up, especially up here, especially up in the head. They just gunk up the mechanism that's going on inside and in the body too. When I'm caught up in that overthinkingness, the whole body just gets constricted, gets put kind of in a container, and then it starts moving into I feel sick, I don't have enough energy, I'm fatigued, I'm lethargic, I just want to lay down, I don't want to think about this, that, or the other, and yet I still think about all the stuff. So how do you overcome that? Well, for me, right here, right now, it's been just getting in front of the camera, expressing how I feel, letting it flow freely, and not being concerned about how other people are going to perceive it, how they're going to take it. And this has been a concern recently that kind of kept me in that constriction, is if and when, because I feel like it might happen, maybe I'm not going to speak that out. If the words or the content or contexts get distorted in some manner, which happens for everyone, every time, for basically anything, especially if you're operating from the headspace. The judgments that we have about ourselves and the beliefs that we hold about ourselves is shows up and reflected and projected, and I'm still figuring out what that exactly means. but the more I talk about it and the more I see it, the more that it's coming into understanding. Okay, so maybe got a little sidetracked with that one because the train of thought with that is not there anymore. Okay, so move on to the next. Just talk about the thanks. I want to give thanks right here, right now to. And the weird thing is, I don't know in the last video if I even said this. But I just wanted to give a thanks to Aaron, to Matt, and to Victor for setting up this Conscious Business Accelerator. And just how already in the past week, and now we're at a week and a half, how transformative it has been. Even though at some points, like, I wanted to be like, nah, this isn't working. I haven't like seen any changes. And then the jealousy starts to set in when I see people that say like, oh, I went from 3K a month to 16K a month, or I've seen this great breakthrough, or I've had this or whatever. And that negative, slimy shit just stuck back on there and was like, the jealousy factor. Oh man, I haven't seen transformation like this. Oh man, it's not gonna, and then the spiral starts happening, which prevents me from continuing what I know to be the best thing for myself. And as Matt specified today, like, who am I to deny my medicine with someone else? Like, that is pretty, I'm just gonna call it as it is, that's pretty freaking selfish. Who am I to deny that to the world? And it might not seem, it hasn't seemed like that for me at the beginning. That's what I'm doing, but now it's becoming clear that that's exactly what I'm doing, because there are a lot of people that are going through some sort of suffering, whatever that might be, and just simply being. And I know this is weird to talk about, but I believe that I can talk about it because I've also experienced it. Like, just being there and speaking out about different parts of my story, even though it hasn't come together fully yet, up until now. There is that experience of in the past, you can look back and say, and I'm sure everyone has experienced this, where being there and expressing your story has been transformative, despite all of the slimy muckness that gets stuck sometimes. And here again, so even with the hand movements, there's still that little fear in the back of my mind that is that the context or content is the context or content can be used for a not so great purpose or somebody else's agenda. And that keeps coming up, and that almost prevents me from continuing to talk. However, I'm gonna keep talking anyway, because I know that is what is more important than my little minuscule feeling of fear. And even if it does happen, the people that know and understand will get it and will see it, and that is all that matters. So since I'm here now, and I brought up the little notes that I took from today's session, I just wanted to reiterate on some of the things that I took from it and continue from there, and maybe even share a little bit of my personal experience. I'm gonna attempt to keep this, I'm going to keep this right around 30 minutes. That's at least the kind of generalized structure that I want to begin with. It might go a little bit over, a little bit under, but that's okay for starting. The goal point is 30 minutes. Right now, pushing right around 20. So maybe even a little bit further. 25 almost. So I got like 5 minutes roughly. Okay. As I'm saying that, I'm staring at let going of the need to overstructure. So there's that goal point, 30 minutes. If it goes under or over, that's okay. There does not have to be a specific time frame. Another thing that was brought up was this idea of motivation and commitment. Commitment being a feeling, and this is, what Matt introduced. That motivation is a feeling and that commitment is a choice. I've felt myself, I felt myself relating to the motivational factor, especially when I continue to talk myself out of actually doing it. That's when the motivation starts declining, like, oh, I can't do that, or, oh, I'm not feeling well to do that, or my noggin hurts, or whatever. And something that I actually learned from the military, which I'm still in the process of reintegrating, is this idea of fake motivation is real motivation. And I can say that because every single morning at 4:45 in the morning, we're up there, we're up and out, getting ready to do some sort of physical exercise. Whatever that might be. It might be a 12-mile ruck, or an 8-mile run, or just countless amounts of push-ups and sit-ups and what have you. And we always said that fake motivation is motivation nonetheless. And that kept, resonating with me. And so I took and I kind of run with that. Fake motivation. And I would say it out loud. Fake motivation, fake motivation. And eventually it got to a point where occasionally I would say it, just in case, just if someone else was feeling a little bit unmotivated, then it would pop out of my mouth. But it just became a thing. And I didn't even have to pretend to be motivated anymore. I was actually motivated. And then there were other goals that kind of stemmed out of that. And so I guess to carry that on is motivation actually turned into commitment. Okay, so anyway, moving on from there, another thing that was brought up is this an idea of the rough outline and then grant the self-permission to flow. And so as I look at this, my eyes are going to different portions because I took a lot of notes. And gotta laugh there. A little bit of pride came in, I suppose, but anyway, my eyes are kind of scanning for the next important thing, if there is an important thing. And coming up on the last few minutes here, so it's time to come to a closing. So the last thing that I'll just bring in, or piggyback on, not bring in because it was brought in by Matt and who he was talking to, is embracing the inner cringe. There are so many things, and I have a hard time with that, with doing that still. I believe that the more I begin to express and talk about this stuff, that will just completely subside. I know in the past I've been completely egocentric in the way that if someone throws an insult at me or whatever, and even if that comes in from inside, then I just immediately go into oh, do you really mean that? Oh gosh. Anywho, so I'm gonna go ahead and end with a question for reflection for you to reflect on. And it is something that came up for me as the close of the coaching session came in. And it's, do I need to feel grounded in order to move and flow? For me, there's a lot of things that come up from that, and maybe to be addressed in the next video as it comes to a close here. So again, question for reflection: do I need to feel grounded in order to move and flow? And that's that. Okay. So again, for those who don't know who I am, and I didn't do an introduction to the Conscious Business Accelerator or whatever. My name's Kyle Panter. I am proud to be a diplomatic way shower to show people how to integrate the heart and the mind instead of fighting each other. That's going to be refined, I'm sure, in the upcoming videos, but for now, I'm actually pretty pleased with the way that this came out. Until next time, I can't use that catchphrase. I gotta come up with my own catchphrase. There it is. Gotta do one last one. I don't know if I never feel like I give enough gratitude or credit to those who have come before that have shown a way for me, or have shown a way for me and helped me to step on my own path. And so I wanted to express gratitude for myself. I have to go here first without feeling shame. Have to show gratitude for myself first and foremost for actually getting up and doing it regardless of the feelings that were present. And for this one, I'm also going to express in words the gratitude for Aaron for starting kind of the process and encouraging as the years that I followed him, and then getting to know little by little Matt and Victor, or Vic. I don't know if it's Victor, forgive me. It's been a pleasure to be able to move through some of this with y'all, and the words just aren't coming out appropriately right now. So thank you again, Aaron, Matt, and Vic, for all the time and energy and effort, or effortlessness, that you've put into this to allow myself and all of the other beautiful people that are connected here with us in sharing things that are passionate for you. Words are just thank you. That's it. Just thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's it.